Hello there, this is James Oscroft, 1978, and diving straight back in where we left off at the end of Part 2, links down to Underbar by asking the question that will dominate and divide the sane half of America for the next 4 years as the Republicans fight over who should be Trump's successor or whether they should simply nominate Trump again in 2024, assuming, of course, that he isn't in prison at that time. Number 7, should the Democrats continue to try and build a broad coalition and expand their majority by not only pushing increasingly popular progressive policies, reaching out to new voters, especially young people, and trying to rebuild their total domination of the quote-unquote black and Latino vote, at least in part by no longer patronisingly pigeonholing them as the black and Latino vote, but also continuing to reach out to independents and more moderate Republican voters, adjusting their message in key states accordingly. Or should they go full Bernie, effectively telling half of the country to go and fuck themselves by nominating someone like AOC in 2024 and running an unashamedly democratic socialist campaign nationwide, knowing full well that doing so will only further polarise the country and drive Republican registration and turnout even higher, with someone like Howard Schultz probably running as a vote-splitting third-party candidate, just as he threatened to do if Bernie won the nomination earlier this year, but still betting absolutely everything, including the existence of the Democratic Party, the survival of American democracy, and the survival of the planet on the gamble that the ever-dwindling number of new voters who they are able to draw in by offering radical change and who are actually able to vote in key swing states in the face of constant and systemic voter suppression will be greater than both the number of moderate centrists who they drive away and the number of new Republican voters who register to stop them, just like they did this year.
Take a wild guess.
If the winner of the American presidential election was determined by the popular vote, or democracy as it's known in the rest of the world, and the Senate wasn't an anti-democratic anachronism designed to keep power in the hands of slave owners, then we wouldn't even be asking that question, because the progressives would have already had control of the federal government for decades. But instead, as one pundit recently put it, America is a centre-left country with a centre-right political system, rigged from the beginning to keep power in the hands of the rich white rural elite, meaning that even without rampant voter suppression, the existence of the Electoral College and the rigged nature of the Senate would still mean that coalition and compromise are the only possible way to gain a large enough majority to even begin to fix America's political system, which, far from being broken, is working exactly as was always intended, keeping power in the hands of the few. And this being the case, number 8, absolutely everything now depends on the 2 runoff Senate elections in Georgia in January, a campaign which, according to many pundits, is another reason why Republicans are willingly spouting and spreading Trump's absurd delusion that Biden and the Jewish George Soros somehow stole the election, hoping that validating Trump's irrational grievances and those of his worshippers will help to produce another more powerful red wave in Georgia before everyone is forced to accept reality and Trump's worshippers condemned establishment Republicans as cowards and traitors who sold him down the river. Because when Joe Biden is inaugurated in January, either the Democrats will have 50 seats in the Senate plus the vote of the Vice President, or Joe Biden will be a lame duck for at least the first 2 years of his administration, unable to even sign an autograph without Moscow Mitch McTreesen's stamp of approval, no doubt causing the cynics who whine about not feeling motivated or inspired to vote blue because voting blue one time in one election back in 2008 hasn't solved all of America's problems, cured their leprosy and brought their dog back to life, to not be bothered to vote in 2022 and 2024, thus causing the vicious cycle to repeat itself yet again. So no, the battle is never over, and if you're an American, then you need to donate and volunteer to help both Georgia Senate candidates' campaigns at the links listed down as the underbar.